Yo, what's going on, Nomads and Drifting podcast listeners? I'm Brian,
And I'm Monica.
and welcome to the Backspace Nomads Podcast, where we talk about our nerd for video games, movies, and all the dork in between. Before we move on and share with you what we're going to talk about tonight, quick reminder, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and like the video. If you're an audio listener, make sure you're dropping the 5-star review on the podcast. If you're looking to support us, that's the best way that you can do it. But on the podcast today, we are going to be going into the Man and The Wasp review, and then we're going to be sharing our unpopular gaming opinions. All right, it's July 8th, 2018, episode 55 or 65 of the podcast. Let's start the show. So before we get into the actual big part of the show, we kind of wanted to circle around to something we talked about 2 podcasts ago, episode 63, we talked about it. Monica, what about that Reader's Digest article about gaming addiction?
Oh my goodness. Well, we had announced a couple podcasts ago that World Health Organization, was adding video game disorder or addiction into the the ISM 11.
Yes.
And that what that means is that it will be an officially classified disorder if it makes it in, but that's not happening until 2020. So if you want to hear more of our thoughts on that, you can listen to that podcast if you haven't yet.
Yes.
But people are already going crazy with this. And it's not, what I mean by they're going crazy with it is that they've already taken the idea that video game addiction is going to be considered an actual disorder, and they're running with it. Like, there are parental websites and magazines, like people are like, you got to bring your kids in, make sure that they don't have that video game disorder, but there is one article in particular that was very hilarious to me, mainly because they just went all in.
Yes. They've got, I mean, you got to out clickbait the next person in today's world. And Reader's Digest won the clickbait challenge here. They
Going
first
for
off,
the gold.
I didn't even realize Reader's Digest still existed. The only reason I know about this thing is because at my grandma's house, when I used to go over there during the daytime faking sick, we'd have 18 of these things laying around on her tables. And I'm letting you know right now, those pages didn't look very worn. I think it's just something people buy to throw around the house if you're over the age of probably 85 at this point. Who is still reading Reader's Digest, and how did they even make a web page?
I don't know. But this article is really amazing. I mean, instantly you bring it up and it says, it is now possible to be addicted to video games. Like, if you unearth a dinosaur, you don't say, it is now a dinosaur. It was a dinosaur before. We just found out about it. Like, we figured it out. It's not now possible. It's always been possible. We just figured it out, assumedly, if it even gets added.
I'm just upset because I was trying to be addicted to video games for so many years, and nobody was believing me. All I had to do was wait for Reader's Digest to come along in 2018 and just cop off the WHO and blast us as gamers for this.
Yeah, this article is geared towards parents, or 85-year-old grandparents, I guess.
Yeah, grandparents.
And it's aimed towards letting parents know that their children may have a problem. It's riddled with very alarming wording. Gaming addiction. Not only is it now possible, it just became possible, but it's also on the rise. Gaming addiction is on the rise, everybody. So it's possible, and it's just exponentially getting worse and worse over the course of the last 2 weeks.
Oh, the chart levels are just going up. This is a red line in a chart. It's going way to the top right of the chart now that this thing's come out. I think my favorite quote from this entire thing would have to be, and this is from Dr. Saxon, world-renowned. A study in American Journal of Drug and Alcohol Abuse on Video Games found that they impact the release of dopamine levels in ways similar to drugs like ecstasy. if you play video games, you are like gonna experience highs that are just gonna make you want to make out and like swap tongues and spit with all the other males and females playing video games with you next to you.
Yes.
These like doctors or Reader's Digest authors have never in their life done ecstasy ever. I have never played a video game and been like, I just can't. Is it getting hot in here? I just can't control myself. It feels so good.
Every time I play video games, the only way I can, really cool off is to get things like satin fabrics and rub them on my face. And I like to pet my cat a lot, my cat, Miles Davis, I'm like, oh, you feel so strange to me right now because I just got done playing Mario Rabbids for 2 hours. It's really interesting. I'm surprised that hasn't happened for you, Brian, because that actually happens to me every single time I play a game.
Maybe I'm not playing them enough. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you're not playing them enough.
You're the addict here. I'm just a normal video game connoisseur. I can handle my video games, Monica. All right, I can handle it.
Oh, that's true. But it does say that gaming addiction is like being addicted to drugs. What in the world are they talking about? I love it though. I think it's a bold article. I also think that if it took this amount of time for people to start jumping on this and start talking about it in this way, I just can't wait if it actually gets added in. My moms and dad are going to be calling me, Monica, we finally figured out why you keep playing video games even though you're an adult. It's because you have the disorder, Monica. You've got the disorder. And
your dopamine levels checked out.
Yeah. And you told us you never did drugs, but it turns out that gaming is exactly like doing ecstasy. So nice try, girl. Nice try.
It's just like every time my parents yelled at me, like, you're in your room playing World of Warcraft again, aren't you? It makes sense now. It makes sense. No, I wasn't on the street abusing crack cocaine like the rest of the kids out there. I was playing, leveling up my dwarf hunter.
Yes. Basically the equivalent of crack cocaine, though. Don't try to make it so like you're one-upping.
Don't at me, bro. Okay.
Don't at me. Yeah.
I don't know. This is just a start too. Like we read that article from the WHO 2 podcasts ago. We're 2 weeks into this, and this is what we're living with. It's not looking bright for our future here.
Yeah. Well, I do have to admit that while I don't think I have a gaming addiction or gaming disorder, I know we were supposed to go out into the world and have another journalistic quest this week.
Oh, I can't wait to review Ant-Man with you, Monica. I am so excited about this.
Well, I messed up, Brian, because I went out into the world and didn't play video games. And I went to a wedding and I might have drank a little too much and I didn't feel too well today. So Ant-Man didn't happen.
Okay. I guess that's cool.
I'm sorry. I know I let you down, but I've got my own addictions to deal with. Okay. And they're not gaming. It's alcohol related.
Ooh, this got real. So we're gonna review Ant-Man, but Monica, took a little
nappy
sideways
for 18 hours.
I laid down for a nap and I fell asleep. I don't know what happened. So in lieu of that, we're going to do a light review on my end, and then I'm going to try to sprinkle in some fake spoilers to see if Monica can deduce what's the real Ant-Man story and if I'm, me just being a dumbass with my suggestions.
Yes.
So
I have to say, though, I am disappointed. I'm disappointed that I didn't go. This movie looks amazing. I'm excited to see what you thought of it because it looked like it was going to be really good.
Well, all right. So let's get this out of the way because Monica's already going to get this ruined for her. This next 20 minutes or so is going to be super, super spoiler heavy. Okay. This is a spoiler filled review of the Ant-Man. If you're looking for it, you might have to pause the podcast, jump forward a little bit. If you're watching on YouTube with our video, maybe we'll like wave our hands around when it's safe for you to come back into the cast. But let's start this off because this might be the funniest Marvel movie ever made.
Really? It looked like it
Yes,
was going to be funny. It
it
really
is
did.
absolutely hilarious. And I say that as like the actors in it are such good comedians and so good at being on screen. Of course, it's like Paul Rudd,
Mhm.
Michael Pena, like they're just like comedians. They've done a lot of comedic movies. Movies like Guardian Galaxy, all the Thor movies and stuff. There's a lot of like practical gags and stuff going on where the scenes is set up to be funny. And Ant-Man, these people are just in a scene being funny people.
Yeah.
And like the jokes are just flying. The editing is so good. Every joke lands. There's not one joke in this entire movie. Because normally in like a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie, they'll have that one joke where I'm just like, really? The whole theater's laughing at this joke right now? None of that. This thing was
Yeah.
like front to back, hilarious. So we start the movie off with Scott Lang. This takes place before the scenes in Avenger 4. This is kind of like a prequel to those events, right? So we're before that timeline of the newest Avengers. This is after the events of Civil War, where we find Scott Lang, Monica. Is he on house arrest for what he did in Civil War, or is he out eating shawarma in LA with Tony Stark?
He's on house arrest.
He is on house arrest. You got the first one correct. Very good. So Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, he is on house arrest for being a superhero in the last what was it, Captain America movie that came out.
Mhm.
So he finds himself, on house arrest, hanging out with his daughter. But then he runs into some trouble, and he needs to go find the Wasp and her dad, Hank Pym. And while they're out there, they run into a character called the Ghost, who is a villain-like character. And Monica, what are her powers? Is she able to phase through objects, or can she only move when people have their back turned to her?
Oh my gosh.
Can you take this seriously?
That's so
Because
funny. That's so funny. I think she's able to phase through objects.
she is able to phase through objects.
But I love the plug of Mario's ghosts in there. Like,
Hey,
oh,
that's
that's
just
so
good.
good. It's so good.
Yeah, so the whole plot of the movie is like kind of based around Paul Rudd having visions of the Wasp's mother. When he was in the last movie, he went down to the quantum realm, and she kind of like, was able to connect with him a little bit. And so once he starts having these things, he's going after. He goes to meet up with the Wasp and her dad, the original Ant-Man from the old one, and the
Mhm.
Ghost is after them because she can like phase through stuff, right? And it is such a departure from normal Marvel movies to have this character of the Ghost, right?
Yeah.
Because there's something that's kind of underlaying in all the Marvel movies where the villain in all the Marvel movies actually have the same power set as the hero of the movie.
Oh
And
yeah,
so it's
yeah.
so it's kind of like a one-on-one and like who's able to outwit the other person even though they have like the same powers, right?
Mhm.
But the Ghost is a completely different power set. She's not, she is dressed up in a suit, but the smart thing about this is the suit helps her control her powers. It keeps her like locked into this dimension or whatever. And Paul Rudd and them, they don't know how to like deal with her. They don't know how to find her.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting.
so they go to find Lawrence Fishburne because I forget his in-game or not in movie character name. And he is associated with the old Hank Pym. How does he know him, Monica? Are they old kung fu sparring partners, or is this a former Shield associate of Hank Pym?
I'm gonna say a former Shield associate.
All right, maybe that one was a little easy with you. Okay.
I don't think I need to go see this movie. I already know all of the
Oh,
answers to it.
spoiler heavy here.
Also, it was Dr. Bill Foster and
Dr. Bill Foster. Oh, um, so yeah, Lawrence Fishburne. Weird to see him in this type of a movie because he is such a huge actor, I think, and he isn't even like the main villain in this movie. Um, Turns out he's not like all he seems to be. He's actually helping Ghost, but he's not like a villain. But he's also not like a main star in the movie. He's kind of like a B-roll villain, and like I don't understand why they would put Lawrence Fishburne in that role.
Mhm.
he seems like such a get to having like such a bigger part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But he was amazing in it. You know what I mean? He delivered. He's he is so good at like being stern, but also like heartfelt. I don't know
Yeah.
how he does it, but like I love him in any movie I see, and this he just like is wonderful.
Do you think he when he hugs you, you feel like you're almost gonna blend into his body, like he's got strong hugs?
I hope so. I don't know how else to. If he doesn't, I don't know what's worth living anymore. Gosh damn it, Lawrence Fishburne. I mean, do you remember seeing him as Morpheus? Was he not one of the sharpest men you've ever seen dressed in the world?
Yes, it was
What are
very.
those? What are those like armbands that like dudes wear on their like undershirts? I don't know what those are, but they look so classy. Anyways, you got me fantasizing about Lawrence Fishburne and his dress. Um, so Lawrence Fishburne is helping out Ghost, which is like an interesting little twist. It kind of felt like you saw it coming because you get introduced to Lawrence Fishburne kind of midway, and you're like, there has to be something with his character. He's not just like I'm gonna help everybody. There's no need for him in this.
Mhm.
Um, so the Ghost is chasing uh Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Hank Pym because they have a quantum tunnel, right? And this quantum tunnel is kind of like a hard thing to find. So, is this quantum tunnel the plans for it, or the actual device inside of Ant Man's personal shield records, or is the quantum tunnel inside of Hank Pym's portable office that he keeps on wheels?
Wait, repeat the options again?
Are these plans inside of Ant Man's personal shield records, or are they inside of Hank Pym's personal portable office that he keeps on wheels, like a suitcase you can roll around?
Um, I just because of the fact that I'm gonna be living on wheels soon, I'm gonna go with the wheels because I wanna believe that I've got the type of connection with this character.
You are connected with this character.
Oh,
One
yeah.
one of the coolest parts of this whole movie is it's all centered around this office building, right?
Mhm.
And this is a massive office building, except this is Ant-Man. They can resize anything. They throw their little Ant-Man device, clickety clackety, and all of a sudden this office building is the size of some carry-on luggage. And they pull a little like, roller wheel thing out with a little handle, and they're rolling it all along. And it is hilarious to see like where it pops out. They pop it up in a forest. In one of the main climax scenes, they pop it up in like downtown San Francisco. It's like right by the bay or whatever. Just a huge office building in the middle of the street. Really clever, I think, device to use, which I don't think any other movies has the chance to even like do that ever. Like,
Yeah.
how do you have a
It
so like
sounds
just
sounds awesome.
yeah, very unique device they're able to use simply because of this premise, right?
I feel like the premise is interesting and unique. I feel like there's a lot of unique elements to the movies,
Oh,
just from
it
what you've
was.
said thus far.
I got one more thing to fool you with, and
Okay.
I'm gonna get into why I just absolutely love this movie.
Okay.
In the climax chase scene, Ant-Man receives help from somebody. Does he receive help from his old friend Hawkeye or from his friend Lewis in a supersized Hot Wheel?
Uh, uh, Hawkeye. Did I get it
No,
wrong?
no, Monica. Hawkeye's on house arrest too. How can he come help Ant-Man? Get out of
I
here.
don't know. I don't know. I messed up. I got almost all of them. I was almost perfect score.
You almost went 5 for 5. He gets help from his friend Lewis, played by Michael Pena, which is probably one of the funniest characters ever in a Marvel movie. This dude in every scene, Michael Pena steals the show. There's like he does this recap where they recap the events of something, and he's like mouthing the lines for the characters, and it is absolute riot. This dude is just hilarious. Uh, and he does drive around in a supersized Hot Wheel for the final chase
That sounds
movie.
amazing.
It was hilarious.
All
The
right.
reason why I love Ant-Man so much,
Tell me.
this movie shows that a comic book movie does not have to be this huge destruction, end all, the world's gonna end, or the government's gonna take over everything. We're not gonna have freedoms. Ant-Man is a very unique, personalized story utilizing the weirdness of like a superhero story.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can do these weird and fun things and it can be heroic, but those can also just be devices to make a really solid movie. this is a great like chase action movie that is just hilarious from end to end, and just shows it is literally the most comic book of all the Marvel movies. Because you don't go through 200 comic book uh, whatever you call them, series or whatever,
Mhm.
prints just to have like huge events. Like there are these small personalized moments within all of these, and this movie like showcases it and all is almost a turning point that you can do this type of stuff, not have everything meaningful and have it just exist inside of the Marvel universe in its own little like fun place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's really needed, especially after that huge Avengers movie where like everyone dies.
Yeah.
um this is like the best like palate cleanser where it's like fun. You're like, oh my god, this is amazing. I forgot how fun this universe was. And then you sit in the in credit scene, you're like, oh god, it's all real again.
Yeah.
Oh
You've officially made me feel guilty and now horrible for not having gone and seen it. But I do think that even with the spoilers
mhm.
that you've provided, which I don't feel like it was too spoil heavy, I do think that I'm still heavily interested in going and seeing it.
Yeah, there are definitely more characters inside of the movie that I didn't talk about. There's this bad guy, Sonny Burch, played by Walton Goggins, who Walton Goggins is a comedian from HBO show with Danny McBride. He also is in Justified. He's a really, really weird, unique actor where like I don't think anyone could play a role like he can. He has all these mannerisms. He's in there in a small part and just like owns it. Um, Great movie, fantastic. Don't know how you let your hangover win this one, Monica,
I
because
know.
Ant-Man and the Wasp was hands down the funniest Marvel movie I think I've ever seen, and definitely my second favorite like sequel to any like uh, movie.
That's awesome. I'll see it this week. I promise.
You want to give me some spoilers next week?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on from Ant-Man and the Wasp to one of our other topics for the night. Me and Monica are going to give you guys some unpopular gaming opinions that me and her both possess. That we don't always see eye to eye with the gaming community. There are a lot of thoughts and people inside of this thing, and I think me and Monica always don't line up.
No, definitely
So
do not always line up. Yeah, there was an interesting, it wasn't so much an article as an opinion piece that was put out by PC Gamer, and it was kind of making its rounds around the, um, around Twitter. A lot of people were discussing it. And there was just a lot of sometimes funny insights as to what people really believed in, or what unpopular gaming opinions that they were willing to stand by, so that
mhm,
they would fervently uh, say that they agreed with these unpopular gaming opinions no matter what anyone said. And so
yeah.
it got us to thinking, like, what are some of ours? um I guess I'll go ahead and start us off. While I have loved the newer Tomb Raider games, I think that they're fun, they're adventurous, exciting. I did not feel like I was playing Lara Croft.
Ooh, why?
She felt too meek to me.
What?
Yes.
You thought she was meek?
I felt like her personality in these was not as hard as
Oh,
would what I have come to think of with Laura. Um, she's she is way more sensitive, way more caring about her friends. And
hmm,
I'll put it out there, like, this isn't just with the game, it's also with like the first set of movies. Angelina Jolie played her as she cared about her friends. She went out and saved them and everything, but it was just a day. It was just another
yeah,
work day, you know?
right,
It
right.
wasn't this tumultuous, crazy thing that was happening. Um, I don't think that she is a weak woman. They haven't portrayed her as a weak woman, but she doesn't come off as tough.
Right.
Does that make
She doesn't.
sense?
It does. Kind of like in the old ones, Laura Cross is just showing up to a tomb, going in, punching the clock. Let me get this job done. I got somewhere to be. This is inconvenience to me that I have to do all this nonsense.
Yeah.
Where this is like a big life event for the character, and
They,
like everything is so meaningful, and like killing
very
people is like hard.
meaningful. Yes.
Yeah.
And
I
and
agree with
and I think that it's almost showing too much sensitivity of Laura. Like it's out there. She's worried about her friends. She's nervous in certain settings. She can
Mhm.
figure out how to get through some really tough situations.
Yeah.
So obviously she's a badass,
Mhm.
but she doesn't come across as a badass.
I agree with that. She
Like
does not at all.
even when she's like being attacked by her enemy, she's I feel like Laura like would like the way I want her to be is just like fuck you, you know? And I don't get that vibe from her ever in these new games. And I don't really view them. I know that they're Tomb Raider games, but I don't
Mhm.
view them as Tomb Raider games. I
Right.
view them as this like different type. I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see the new Tomb Raider coming out if they start to progress her into more of a I don't care type of character
Mhm.
and a more like emotionally shut off character. And maybe this is like the origins of her. Like she started off like empathetic and this is how she becomes a badass. I don't know if they are, but if they do, that would be like fantastic
Yeah, it will be
because I
interesting to
agree with
see.
you. I agree with you. In this last one, she did not feel like Laura Croft.
Yeah.
I don't know why they named her that because she was just like a flimsy I get stabbed in the neck by tree branches for no reason type of character. My first unpopular gaming opinion, I think that open world sucks.
Is that an
I
unpopular opinion?
I don't I do you think open world sucks?
I don't like all of the open world games. Okay,
I don't
okay.
know.
Explain this to me.
All right. I feel like for a long time, I don't know if it's like consumer sentiment or just because this is what developers want to do because they don't know how to make other games it's cheaper to do over open world. But there has been a gradual shift into open world games taking over gaming. Um, it started with like Grand Theft Auto, it progressed into Red Dead Redemption, Skyrim, Fallout, all these games. Everything is just slowly starting to become more and more open world. For games that like I don't think deserve open world experiences.
Mhm.
And I think that the open world experience actually ruins games.
Mm.
I think that it is a crutch to say that we're just gonna throw this in open world and you can stumble upon these stories as you want. I think it's a weak move from a developer to do that. I
Yeah.
think that a game with a strong narrative story that it takes you from one place to the end, almost like you're on a roller coaster, but you're playing through the roller coaster.
Yeah.
I think that's a stronger story, and I don't think that has been the case for at least developers. They've really been wanting to push this open world game. And I think the first like step back in the other direction is maybe the God of War series, where they said, no, we're going to put you on this story and you're going to experience the story the way we want you to experience. Even with games like Lara Croft, the latest one, that was a fairly open world experience
Yeah.
where you
Well,
could
they
go
did make
back and
the
forth.
the most recent God of War is open world.
Is it? I thought it was like a just a narrative. Like here you go, we're starting
No, they
here.
moved away from
You know
that.
what? Fuck God of War. What an awful series. Why would they do that to the game? Open world is the worst thing to happen to the gaming industry, and I don't agree with it. And I don't know why developers continue to think that that is a positive step for the industry.
Yeah. I don't know that I feel like actually a lot of people would agree with you. Um, but I don't know. Listeners, viewers, what do you guys think? Do you agree with Brian? Is open world do you do you like open world games or do you have find them problematic?
Hmm.
Um, all right. So my next one is one that I feel like I've gotten a lot of flack for
Hmm.
in my gaming career. And this is that Final Fantasy IX is the best in the franchise.
What?
Yes.
You are out of your mind.
You are out of your mind. I 100% loved Final Fantasy IX like no other Final Fantasy game I've ever played. I don't know what it was. I know that even the character design drove a
Hmm.
lot of people crazy. They didn't like kind of the chibi look of these characters.
Sure.
Um, I loved that game. Now I don't know if it's because of the age I was when I was playing it. If that's why if it resonated with me more. but that goes down as one of my favorite games that I've ever played.
Oh my God, you are off your rocker if you think Final Fantasy IX is the best one. There's at least 2 or 3 ahead of Final Fantasy IX.
I disagree. I think Zidane
At
was
what moment? Oh, Zidane. Don't get Zidane with his dumb hair, his dumb 80s parted hair. At what point were you more emotionally moved by something in Final Fantasy IX than seeing Ares stabbed through the heart?
okay.
Stabbed through the heart.
At what point? The point I turned the game on. Okay, that's how emotionally moved I was by Final Fantasy IX. All right.
Even the scene where you had to like try and be like a theater in front of a group of people. Ugh.
Yes, all of them.
What an awful game.
You know what? Whatever. This goes exactly with what we're supposed to be doing here. An unpopular opinion that we're willing to stand by. I'm standing by it. It's the best in the franchise. Final Fantasy IX #1.
You're just unpopular now. It's not even your ideas.
Oh, man.
My next one. Skyrim actually kind of blows.
I've never played Skyrim, so I cannot agree or disagree with you. But I will say that it doesn't seem that interesting to me to play.
Yep. I think Skyrim was, in large part, a lot of people's first experience with a Elder Scroll game. It got so much hype that it got a lot of the industry on board from a lot of people that didn't play these games before. This, I think, is the worst step in the series since Daggerfall, which was like one of the best in the series. This game, you just play a character who doesn't have that much of an impact on the world. Like, you don't get to do a lot with designing your character or your abilities. You just walk around. You have to take part in the story where you have these powers that you're some kind of dragon person that can Fusro Da and like move mountains with your voice. Like, you have no choice. That's the character you have to play, and you have to progress in the main story. That's what you have to do. That's just awful. That's not the Elder Scrolls series that I know. The Elder Scrolls series that I know, you really get to pick a character, design your own class, really ins and outs, how much agility he has. Is he able to talk his way out of the situation? Skyrim to me just loses all that.
Yeah.
And I like the Nordic setting and stuff, but they did not do a lot with like the magic system in terms of like a deep mage storyline. That wasn't there. Skyrim is just the worst in the series. And every time I go back and like look at Oblivion or Morrowind, I'm like, man, I just really enjoyed this series more.
Yeah.
The world felt way bigger. And I actually think it was. The stories felt way deeper. Skyrim just is like, it's just all like bells and whistles. There's no substance underneath it. There's no trombone. There's no tuba. There's no wind section. It's just it's the worst.
It's just bells and whistles.
Yeah, that's all they're doing.
You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous. All right, so my final one is one that I've also gotten some slack over, and it is that PlayStation controllers over Xbox. I have owned a ton of different consoles, and I have always preferred, and I guess ergonomically, the Xbox controller is supposed to be one of the best for you. It's supposed to be the easiest to work with. I don't like them. I like my PlayStation controller. I like having to hold on with my very long dangly fingers. I like to have to hold on to those little nubs on the side and grip. Like, it just I know it probably looks stupid, and the Xbox controller would be better for me, but I don't like them. I don't think they're comfortable.
I'm gonna let you have that one because I think the Xbox Duke controller is nice. The thing about the PlayStation controller, which is ridiculous, is I don't think they've tried to improve that thing in the last
they don't
20
give a
years.
Shit.
They're like, whatever, get your gangly ass fucking fingers around this thing and try to play some video games, nerds.
Yep.
Like, all they do is like upgrade the aesthetics and like maybe make the joysticks like feel more like smooth.
Yes.
But that thing has not changed. You can take a PS1 controller, like sit it next to a PlayStation. What are we up to? 18 now, and it would look exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that's why I like it so much too, is that it just, maybe there's some nostalgia there. So I don't have to be confronted with change.
Stop living in the past, Monica. Wrap your fingers around that Xbox controller. Feel the love.
That's my last. I think it's a somewhat unpopular opinion. Maybe not, though. If you're agreeing with me, maybe more people. I'm interested to see what our listeners think of these things that we're bringing up, and I hope they share it with us, and also what their unpopular gaming opinion is that they would not want to let go. Yeah. All right, what's your last one, Brian?
My last one would be that microtransactions are awesome.
What? You are so. Are you just trying to troll people?
No,
I think you're trying to troll.
Look, the 12 to 15-year-old Brian inside my heart is like, goddamn microtransactions, you're ruining gaming. And I'm throwing my controller, my Xbox One against the wall. I'm like hating life. But adult Brian is like, man, you got some fucking errands to run. You got to cook dinner. You got to do laundry. Someone's got to mop these floors. What are you doing? What are you going to do? Play video games 24 hours a day? No. I'm going to slap my credit card down and say, I have more money than I do time. Why don't I use this microtransaction to my advantage? I'm all right with them. I think it's cool. Level me up faster. Give me some fancy armor. Give me that big ass sword that nobody in the game has except me because I'm willing to pay $50 for it. I'm going to dominate. Give it to me. Little nerds. Little dorks without jobs. I gotcha. I love microtransactions.
So I actually don't have that much of a problem with microtransactions. I do think that they can be a little bit addictive, which I think is problematic. Tying us back to the beginning of the show, I do think that microtransactions, especially if they are game and performance enhancing, like you can do something better with them, sometimes are a little bit problematic. But I will admit, I mean, as soon as Gwent came out, I found
it always comes back to The Witcher. God damn it!
It does. I'm so sorry. But when Gwent came out, I was like, oh, okay. So there's a starter pack, and it's only $5. And I got that starter pack. I opened it up. Didn't get anything that I liked really. Was playing, started leveling, and then I realized that I wasn't going to get very far with the deck that they gave me. So guess what I did? I busted open that credit card. I was like, well, $20 ought to do me. $20 every day for the next 4 days. Let me tell you, I ended up getting one of the best decks in the game. I was wrecking kids again. Couldn't go back. Yeah, it was important. So I will not say that they are awesome. I would say that they should just charge more for the game up front. But I know that the likelihood of that happening and people going for it, slim to none.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm there on microtransaction. The industry beat me down. I'm into it.
The industry's beating you into submission. You're like, I love microtransactions. Give me more.
All right. That's going to do it for episode 65 of the Backspace Nomads Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us for this cast, my dudes. See you next week for episode 66. Later.
Bye.